Good afternoon. This is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and I'm bringing you guys my Mutant deck profile post Power the Elements. Now, this deck got some really cool cards, and I just really want to show you. So, first things first, you're probably wondering, what did Mutants get in Power the Elements? They got no cards individually, and yes, you are correct. You do not get any new Mutant cards. But luckily, there's a whole new archetype that works really well with this deck. And that archetype is Goatee. Yes, Goatee. If I can find it real quick. Goatee himself. It turns out this deck synergizes really well with it. It's probably not the best way to play Goatee, but it's definitely a very interesting way to play Goatee. Goatee is a really cool fish archetype that only currently has 5 monsters in the archetype. 2 of them are being extra deck monsters, and basically the whole summoning mechanic is the whole deck revolves around this guy. Basically, you quick synchro on your opponent's turn, summon this guy, and he banishes all cards on the field, which is really strong. And then he comes back, gaining attack of all of the banished cards, which is really cool. And this deck has huge potential. Now, for a while now, I've been trying to build a Goatee deck list for fish, like a fish synchro deck, but I haven't got all the pieces yet. And while I was going through YouTube, looking for recommendations on how to build Goatee, there was a really cool deck list that I saw that was mixing it with mutants, and I think that's just a really good idea. I'm not gonna say that I'm the original creator of Mutant Goatee, because I'm not. A couple other people did. There's one YouTube channel I definitely want to shout out, because this deck is heavily based on his. It's almost card by card, but I feel like this is such a weird concept. I kind of just want the video to show off this cool concept so more people could test on it. I don't get paid for these videos. This is just me saying, hey, this guy had a really cool idea. Let's get that cool idea out there some more, so that more people can experiment with this and come out with better versions than me and his combined. So yeah, let's get into the deck profile.
So to start things off, we're gonna go over the Goatee. Now, the Goatee are a really cool fish archetype that, like I said, just got released in Power the Elements. And I feel like by explaining how they work, we can explain their synergies with the mutants, and we can go from there. So first things first, we have 3 paces. We play 3 paces. This guy's amazing. And basically what he does is that when this card is banished, this is the only part that matters, by the way, he has 2 effects. First effect is, if he's on the field, you can banish him to special summon a fish from hand, which is really good in pure. The only issue is pure fish isn't really a deck yet. Now, there's definitely a lot of theories online how to build that deck, but it hasn't really been solved yet, which is cool. Fish is one of those archetypes that always has a lot of testing, because the fish as a whole have never really been competitive. The closest one has always been XYZ fish, and because of these new synchro fish, people are thinking now there might be a new way to abuse coelacanth, which is a really cool monster. But right now, there isn't really a concrete build yet, and there's not enough support to really finite how the deck should be played. So there's a lot of experimenting going around. So right now, the only effect that really matters off the Goatees is that you can, when these cards are banished, special summon them during the standby phase of your opponent's turn onto the field, and then quick effect, you can quick synchro on your opponent's turn into a fish monster. That's really the only effect that matters. Those 2 effects right there. The fact that they can, if they're banished, return during the standby phase of your opponent's turn, and then if they're a special summon on your opponent's turn, you can quick synchro on your opponent's turn to a fish. That's the part that matters. Now, these cards are really cool. The other one we play is Shift. I think his name is Shift. These basically, they both have the same effect. When they're banished, they return on your opponent's standby, and they both have quick play synchro with the fish, which is really cool. His effect, which we don't really use, but it's actually more likely than Pace's effect, is that you can banish him in grave in order to give a fish 500 attack, which is cool. The whole purpose of that is that not only does he boost our big Goatee synchro once he returns, but because we banish him we can then remake a new synchro the next turn. So that's why he's really cool. And Pure Fish, you probably played 2 or 1 of him. I've seen the list that I kind of based his deck on, only played 1 of him and played 2 Enoch. Now, Enoch's a really cool guy, and it was really a struggle when I was making this list. So this is Enoch. Enoch is a really cool level 6 guy. So these are all 3 of the main deck Goatee monsters. We're not playing Enoch. Enoch, sadly, is not in this build. This is, like I said, Mutant Fish, so these are only really extenders. And the whole purpose of these dudes is that when they're banished off a Necro face or off a Mutant effect, they just reborn onto the field and then they can just trigger in order to ultimately make a Synchro 10 and banish your whole field, which is really, really cool. But, and that's what their whole purpose in this deck. They're supposed to be hit off Necro phase and use as material in mutants to reoccur their cost. Because I'm going to explain this now. Mutants have a lot of cost. To summon out their bigger mutants, they have to banish cards on the hand or field to do so. For example, let me just get into them right now.
First things first, we play 3 Mutant M05. Now, Mutant 05 is an amazing card. When this card is normal or special summon, you get to basically add a mutant monster from your deck to your hand, which is really, really strong. It also has the effect of when this card's on the field, you contribute it, banish a card in your spell, or not your spell, but basically banish a card in your hand or field, special summon a mutant with a corresponding type. If you banish a spell, you get mutant mist. If you banish a mutant, if you banish a monster, you get mutant beast, and if you banish a trap, you get mutant arsenal. And that's just a really, really cool effect. Now, me saying that to you doesn't really make sense, and I know that the mutants are a little weird. As you can see, they're test tube psychic water monsters. They don't really make sense, but once I show you how they all work and the monsters they're summoning, this will make more sense. So next we play 3 Mutant ST46, and this guy has the same effect as him. And when these cards no more special summon, you add, instead of a monster, a mutant monster, you add a mutant spell or trap to hand. And then it has the same effect where you contribute this card, banish a card in your hand or field, to then ultimately summon a mutant with the corresponding type. If you banish, like I said, a trap, you get arsenal. You banish a spell, you get mist. And if you banish a monster, you get beast. These 2 were the bread and butter of this deck for the longest time, and for a while, this deck only had these 6 cards. Now, lately, they did get a new support card, a little bit this year. A common card called Mutant, which is still the stupidest name for a support card that they ever changed it to, but it's still a really broken card, so we play them as a 3 of anyway. I've seen some lists play them as 2 with Goatees, and I just don't I disagree with that entirely. Mutant has the effect basically where when this card, you can special summon this card and you control a mutant, which is really, really good. And then you contribute yourself to grave, banish a card from your deck, and then summon out the retrospective types. You see those 3 dots? They all have those 3 dots. So like I said, monster is mutant beast, spell is mutant mist, and trap is mutant arsenal. You can only use this effect once per turn. Now these are your 9 really good cards, and as you can see, Mutant was trying to solve the issues that Mutant ST46 and Mutant M05 had. That issue being, one, if you stop their way of summoning themselves, they kind of don't do anything. And your other issue is that you neg yourself to special summon an average monster, because you have to tribute him or him to then banish a card on hand or field to then summon 1 monster from deck, which didn't really get you advantage. So Mutant's purpose was to make up for that recovery. And Mutant basically said, hey, since I banished from deck, it's not really a neg 1, it's a balance. It's like you're equal to. You made equal card advantage. And since he can search him, you get, it basically tries to net yourself equal card advantage. But because of the new Goatee monsters, we now have a route to divinity. And what I mean by that is, we no longer have bad targets to banish. We can banish the Goatees as costs for mutants
to then get them on your opponent's turn, thus accumulate advantage. So the biggest drawback to mutants, like I said, was they get to banish cards on hand and field in order to some of your bigger guys. But now that issue's kind of fixed with the Goatee, because the Goatee, once they're banished, will just come back in a quick synchro. Thus, you now have an interruption to your neg 1, which is really, really cool. And that is why we're playing the Goatee. Not only as a really cool interruption that gives mutants another ability to do interaction on your opponent's turn, but also to reoccur advantage, because, like I said, they neg themselves when they say, well, Mutant doesn't, but these 6 do. They neg themselves when they tribute themselves into the bigger guys. And getting paces and shift is so important and so instrumental into mutants as a whole. We also play 3 Necroface. Now, Necroface is another kind of brick, but it's another really great card to banish. So, reason why we're playing Necroface is that the mutants live and die in the graveyard. Or not graveyard, banish zone. They're one of those archetypes that are weird because unlike every other archetype like Tier Elements and Burning Abyss and any other deck like that, they want to be banished. They're like Metaphys in a way. They just want to be in the banish zone, so you either shuffle them back or they can just trigger their effects there. For the mutants, they have a trap card that can shuffle them back from the banish zone in order to ultimately reoccur advantage. They also have a field spell that can special summon out the little guys from the banish zone. Thus, you get to play your banish zone more than any other deck can, which is really, really cool. And Necroface is a great example of this because by using Necroface, you can banish cards by banishing 5 when he's banished. You ultimately get some recursion. Not only can you hit the fish that will trigger and summon themselves onto your opponent's turn, but by banishing other mutant cards, you make other mutant cards live. Example, the trap card, in order to shuffle them back in deck, the fusion summon. So this makes other cards live where they wouldn't be usually. And that is it for our low-level monsters. I hope I explained that bestly, but I think that best explains it. And yeah, another way to explain this is with Mutant Beast, who's a 2-of. I almost want to bump up to 3 because it's the easiest one to make. Mist and Arsenal. Now these are the 4 guys I was literally just referring to off these guys' effects. Like I said, if you banish a monster, you special summon Beast. If you banish a spell or trap, well, I said that wrong already. If you banish a spell, you get, believe, Mist, and you banish a trap, you get Arsenal. And they all have 3 different effects, and they're all really decent. Mutant Beast has the effect where you can banish a card you control or in hand in order to negate a spell and trap and destroy it. Which, like, again, is another neg because, hey, you had to banish one to summon him, and now you have to banish another one to negate a spell and trap. You're negging yourself. And he's not even a big monster. He's a 2400, so you get run over pretty easy. So that was already when mutants came out. They're already like, we need more support. But luckily, because they're 8s, they synergize with the Goatee. Because Goatees are 2s, synchros. So 2 plus 8 equals 10, and their fish is a 10. Thus, you can negate with Beast, recur stuff with the fish, and then synchro on your opponent's turn into a 10, banish your whole board. It's just a really, really cool mechanic, and I can't wait to show you guys literally in the next few moments. But next we play Mist. Mist is you summon based on banishing a spell, and basically what his effect does is that I believe he is a monster banish. So when your opponent activates a trap effect, quick effect, you banish 1 card from your hand or field, draw 2 cards. So that one is iffy. He draws 2, which honestly I thought he quick play banish. So I actually misremember what Mist does. Against trap decks, I guess he's good. Drawing 2 is always great, but honestly, I almost want to play 3 Mist and 1 Arsenal because Mist is the shittiest of the 3. Next, we play 1 of this guy, Arsenal himself. And like I say, you special summon him by banishing a trap card, and his whole gimmick is that once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you banish 1 monster, banish 1 card from your hand or field, target 1 monster on the field, and banish it. So I got their effects mistaken. When I was saying one quick plays banishes, it's Arsenal that does that. Arsenal, when your opponent activates a quick effect, you banish a card to then banish their card, which is a -1-ish, or you equalize an advantage, but it's alright. All three of these, all four of these, are very average monsters, but you have to play them because, for one, they're summon off these guys, and two, they're your level 8s, which allow you to go into Goatees, thus make the whole deck function. Personally, I would cut a miss, play 3 beasts, 1 arsenal, or 2 beasts, 2 arsenal, up to you. But like I said, miss is alright, but out of all the effects, it's eh. But I forgot to mention one more thing. They also all have a floating effect. When they're destroyed by card effects, they all float into different things. So I believe Beast, when it dies, is destroyed by opponent's card effect. You banish. You can target one of your banished mutant traps and hand. So he adds a trap that's banished. Mist, I believe, adds a monster. Yep, he adds the monster. And Arsenal adds a spell. So that's why we play Mist, because when it leaves, we can at least add a monster from the banish zone at the hand, which is cool. And also, I believe Arsenal is just a really big boy. He's 3,000 attack. He's really good. But like I said, these 4 are average. When people were theorizing this deck when it came out with Tri-Brigade, and when it came out with Virtual, people were really disappointed in this deck because these cards sound amazing. These 6 right here, and their field spell isn't that bad, which we'll get into. But these 4 are average as hell, if not bad. And the fact that you have to play them kind of sucks. So now, a year later, we got 1 support card, and now we have these guys. The deck is starting to actually be playable. It's actually starting to be good, which makes me happy because I always wanted this deck to be good. Out of all the decks that came out during, I believe it's called Phantom Rage, because it had Phantom Knights. It had, so like I said, it did have Sword Soul support, but it wasn't really Sword. Like, I think it was like this Evil Long One came out, but I could be mistaken. But basically, no, actually no, Long Ones weren't even out yet. Sword Soul came out later. My apologies. Basically, only had Tri-Brigade and Virtual World, and of course the new Phantom Knights. So it was just getting overshadowed by everything, and I feel bad for that because I think this deck has the potential to do great. It just hasn't really had a chance to. And that is it for our main monsters. These are all the important ones. We also do play Shifter. I guess we should mention this. Shifter is our last monster. And what else is to say about Shifter? It's the best hand trap we can play in this deck. We live and die in the banish zone. Thus, if we can just activate this during our opponent's turn, they kind of just lose. Yo gets tier. It's an auto win button. It's just a really, really strong card. And it also does give us some synergies because it's a level 6. Thus, usually in most decks, drawing multiple Shifters sucks because, well, the Shifter's just rotting in hand. But in this deck, it can be used as fodder off the banishes of these guys. It can also be used as synchro material because it's a 6. These guys are 2s. Thus, we can go into 8s, which is really, really interesting. And that is it for the deck profile, at least when it comes to the monsters. Now we'll go into these spells and traps. When it comes to the spells and traps, we play 3 Mutant Evolution Lab. Now this card's crucial to the deck, but I also wish it was better. I'm going to explain that with its effect. So what Mutant Experimentation Lab does, or Evolution Lab, basically what it does is that when this card is activated, you can spell summon a mutant from your hand, grave, or banish zone when this card's activated, of course. And then it has the effect you can shuffle 1 mutant card you control in your hand and then draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of that once per turn. Now, the reason why this card I wish was better was I wish it added a mutant to hand. I wish it adds the little guys. I wish this is what it said. I wish when this card is activated, you add a mutant, a level 3 or lower mutant to your hand, and then once per turn, you can special summon 1 mutant from your hand, grave, or banish zone. You can only use this effect once per turn. I wish it said that. Forget the whole mulliganing part. I wish it just said, hey, when this card's activated, add a mutant lower level mutant to your hand, because those are the ones that matter. The big ones you don't want in hand. And then once per turn, not on activation, but this once per turn, you can just then summon it. But because it doesn't say that, this card's alright. But because mutants don't have that much to begin with, we have to play this as a 3 of. I've seen some lists play it as 2, but I feel like the deck just needs more extension, and this card definitely brings the extension, even if it's only on activation. Next, we play 3 Emergency Teleport. We all know what Emergency Teleport does. You supposed to summon a level 3 or lower, what's it called, Psychic from your deck, and then banish it during the end phase. It's not once a turn. Really strong card. All the mutants are low-level Psychics, thus you can special summon them off Emergency Teleport, which is just a really good card. Next, we play 2 Moray of Avarice. Moray of Avarice is just a draw 2 for the deck. Basically, if you control a fish monster, it also says Sea Serpent or Aqua, which kind of comes up, but we're always going to just banish a fish. When you banish a fish, you draw 2, but you must control it. So that's the other iffy card. So just like the field spell, I wish it just said banish a fish from hand, draw 2. I wish it said that. It would be a perfectly good card, but instead, no, you have to banish it on the field, which is, it's alright. And this could be replaced by a different pot. I'll probably play Prosperity, honestly, but it's fine for now for cheap budget players like me. And finally, play 1 Call by the Grave. Now, I would say this is it for our spells, but we still, I believe, have 2 more to go. First one's Mutant Fusion. Mutant Fusion basically says, hey, you can fusion summon by banishing cards in your hand and field to fusion summon a level 8 or higher mutant monster. And if your opponent activates an effect during your turn, you can banish from your grave and deck, which is really cool. It's a 1-of, it's searchable, it's a really strong card. It's not our main way of fusion summoning, but it's a way we can do it. And the fact that it banishes is awesome because, like I said, we live in the banish zone, so banishing them, this means we keep them in rotation, thus shuffling the deck is the hardest part, because if they're back in the deck, that means we gotta get them back out of deck in order to use them again. By banishing them, we can still use them. That's why Mutant Fusion is really good. Next we play, or finally, Gold Sark. Gold Sark's just really good. If you don't have any fish in hand, this is just another copy of fish. And if you want to get a mutant or another card you need in gray or in banish or Necroface, just Necroface in general, this is just a 1 card banish 5. It's just a really strong card, and that is it for our spells. It's time to go into the traps. Now I do have a caveat when it comes to the traps. For the trap cards, we are using technically 2 cards that should be 2 other cards, and I'll get to that when I get to that. But first things first, we play 3 Mutant Cry. Mutant Cry is a really cool fusion card. Basically what this card says is that when this card's activated, you shuffle materials from your hand, field, and or banish zone, also grave of course, into the deck as materials, and then fusion summon that monster, which is just really cool. And you'll use this effect once per turn. That's all it does, and that's all you needed to do. It's just a quick play fusion. I wish it wasn't a trap card, but hey, what can you do? Next for Mutant Traps, we play 2 Mutant Expansion. Now this card helps you get setup going. It's not a bad card at all. Basically what this card does, when this card is activated, you could take 1 level 4 or lower mutant monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. And you can only use the effect of this once per turn. And if a level 8 or higher mutant would be destroyed while this card's engraved, you can banish it, protect it. It's a 2-of, it's alright. I know there's also a mutant, there's another mutant trap we could play. So you could say we play 1 expansion, 1 of that one. I believe you can, if you banish a mutant you control, you can negate that card. But since it's continuous, it's kind of like a fog blade. You can't just keep negating, which is why we don't play it. But I think 2 expanse is fine. And then finally for our last 2 traps, these 2 traps should not be these traps. Alright, so we play 2 Goatee Chain. Now, we personally, because we're not playing Enoch, will not be playing Goatee Chain in this deck. Instead, we should be playing Utopic Draco, the new trap card that's like a secret rare that came out in the Power of the Elements. Basically, it's a trap card, a counter trap that says, hey, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can negate it, destroy it, and you can banish 1 monster in your hand to steal it. You only use the effect once per turn. The reason why we are not playing that is because, well, I don't have it yet. It's a $4 card I couldn't find in my OTS store. So right now I just have 2 chain. These are supposed to be Utopic, like I said, Utopic Future, I believe it's called. No, that's the XYZ. Utopic, it's like Draco Utopia or something. I forgot what the card is called, but I'll put an image right now that shows what it looks like, and that's what these 2 are supposed to be. Goatee Chain's not a bad card, but it's really better in a fish deck than it is a mutant deck. And that's the reason why we're not playing it or Enoch. And that is it for the deck profile. We'll now go on to the extra deck, and then I'll do a quick test stand to show you what the deck can do with the Goatee cards themselves.
Okay, now it's time for the extra deck. We played 2 Mutant Ultimateness. Personally, I probably cut him to 1, but the extra deck's still experimental, so I'm testing out 2. He's the boss monster for mutants. Basically, he's just a really cool guy. He's 3,500 attack, and he's basically, if I remember correctly, he's Mechaba, where basically, if this card is something would be destroyed by card effects, we banish that card. But basically, when effect is activated, you can banish 1 mutant card from your hand, grave, or field. Monster, spell, or trap, negate the activation. So it is like Mechaba. So he's just with 3,500 attack Mechaba. So basically, when you think of him, think Mechaba powered up with Alistair, and that's what this guy is. He also has a floating effect, which is decent. The only issue is that his requirements are a little tough. It's 2 level 8 or higher mutant monsters, which is pretty a lot, to be honest. 2 level 8 higher mutants. I wish it was just 2 mutants, but that's Synthesis' material. So we'll just go on to Synthesis. Synthesis is the one we always make. Every game we make Synthesis, but basically what he does is that when this card is future summoned, when on summon, you get to destroy a card your opponent controls, which is nice. It also has the effect where once per turn, quick effect, you can make it immune to all card effects. And if it leaves the field by opponent, it floats into another monster. Or yeah, I believe it floats. Let's see, how does this thing? When this future card you control is destroyed by opponent's card, add to your hand a banished mutant card from your hand to your hand. So he adds a banished mutant, which is pretty interesting. That was it for the extra deck, which kind of sucked for mutants. I wish they had more. They only have 2 monsters, and both of them are okay at best. But luckily, like I said, the Goatees expand their retro power, because now not only are they not locked into fusions, but they have access to synchros and links. Like I said, we played 2 of this guy. We already discussed them in the beginning of the video. Goatee, Big Boy, Deep Beyond. Basically says when this card is synchro summoned, you banish all cards on the field, which is awesome. And then he gains attack equal to every banished card. I believe how he works is that when he's summoned, he just banishes everything, including himself, and then during the standby phase, he returns, which is really, really cool. And he's just a really big boy. He's a big boy that quick play banishes everything on your opponent's turn, which is really cool. It's kind of like the synchro version of Grand Maju mixed with Metaphys Daedalus. Anyone who knows Metaphys knows that Daedalus is a really cool card. And this is basically the synchro version of that if he was a blue slug. But she kind of is. Daedalus is kind of a snake looking dude. Alright, so to start off, this is our starting hand. This is an amazing starting hand. I kind of just want to show you the power of what this deck can do. We didn't open up a Goatee, but hopefully we can get that off Gold Sark. I can show you what the Goatees can do. First things first, we're going to have to make Gold Sark. We're going to go into our deck real quick. Give me one moment to get it. And we're going to get Necroface. Necroface is going to trigger. We're going to banish 5 cards from our deck and our opponent's deck. And yeah, let's see what we get. So first things first, we got Emergency Teleport, Mutant, Mutant ST46. That's actually a good hit. Oh, we hit a Goatee, perfect, and we hit a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, and we hit a Mutant Mist. The ones that are really important are these 4 right here. And hitting the Emergency Teleport kind of sucks, but we hit a Goatee, that all that matters, and we also hit these 3. If we didn't hit these, all we need to do, like I said, is open a Goatee in hand. Or if you really want to get a Goatee in rotation, we could just Gold Sark for a Goatee. So, like I said, there's multiple ways to do that. Luckily, we hit this.
Imagine if we hit another Necroface, we would have just spiraled this whole hand out of control. Next, we're gonna play Mutant Evolution. Actually, no, not yet. We're gonna normal summon Mutant, level 5. His effects are gonna activate. We're gonna add a Mutant to our hand. In this scenario, because we have these guys in grave, we are going, and banish, my apologies. We're going to add to our hand a Mutant. Because Mutant's in our hand now, we can now special summon him, which is really, really cool. But I'm first going to activate the field spell. We're going to activate the field spell. A field spell is going to special summon from our banish zone a Mutant ST46. And from there, ST46 will then add a spell or trap to our hand. In this case, we'll add... I kind of want to get Mutant Cry for next turn, but since it's a trap, it's alright. Instead, I'm going to get myself a Mutant... I'm going to get another field spell for next turn, honestly. So that's actually what I'm going to get. I'm going to get myself a Mutant field spell. So I'm going to get another Mutant Evolution Lab. From there, we have a couple options of what we can do. So let me put this deck down. This is our hand. So we have Mutant Expansion, Mutant Evolution Mad, and Mutant. We can special summon out Mutants, but then we won't have a monster, which kind of sucks. We won't be able to go into Beast. So I kind of want to go in Beast. Usually we could go, actually we could still go in Beast with Mutant. So that's what we'll do. We'll special summon Mutant because we control Mutant monster. And then we're going to use all but one of these. I had to take some plays back because I just realized we hit miss, which sucks. But that's fine. Miss, like I said, is the shittiest one, so it doesn't really matter too much. It just means we have to banish one of our spells and traps. So to get him, we're gonna have to banish Expanse. So we're gonna banish Expanse, summon out Arsenal from deck. Then we're gonna use him. We'll banish anyone, so we'll banish him and banish another monster to special summon out our big guy himself. And then we're going to end on this. So this is our end board right here. We ended on Beast, Arsenal, a shitty ML5, a field spell, and a counter trap. And we also have a follow-up Mutant Evolution Lab for next turn. So now I want to show you what this can actually resolve. And I'll show you that right now. So during your opponent's standby phase, Mutant, not Mutant, Paces will special summon itself. So in the end, this is what we ended on with that hand. We banished 5 cards from your opponent's deck. We have a spell negate, a quick play monster banish, a counter trap that negates monsters, and a quick play synchro banish everything on our field, plus recursion on their next turn, and a big fish monster to beat them up and kill them for game. I think that's a pretty good board. Hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Don't do anything stupid. Take care. See you all in the next video.